Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Course Creator Community Podcast. I am super excited because we actually have a smart guest on this week. So, and that hurts me to say because I like to tease this guy a lot, but he's smart at what he does anyway. I don't know if he's smart at life, but when it comes to SEO and Google and websites, he knows a thing or two. And I know this firsthand because I pay him money every single month, and it just keeps coming out. I check my bank account. I'm like, I've got to fix my website. Let me reach out to Mark. I got to fix my SEO. Let me reach out to Mark. Got to fix my Google ads. Let me reach out to Mark. Let me do my Australian website, US website, course creator website, fitness education website. And he's got it all covered. So he knows the space very well. So without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Mr. Marc Bartolome. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jono. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I would say you're the one who's really smart because you're working with me.
There we go. But in all
Yep.
seriousness, like I have worked with a lot of SEO companies over the years, and Mark's he'll let you know what he does in his company and that as he moves forward. But it's by far the best. I've worked and actually it's a bit of a tangent, but I think this is a good discussion as well. I think there's a lot of people in the SEO space, Mark. They don't know what they're doing. It's just like they'll start an agency or a company, and it's easy to kind of swindle people because most people have no idea about SEO. Someone
Mhm.
called me up before and they're like, yeah, SEO, they used all these technical terms and I didn't know what the hell they meant. They're like, yeah, it'll get your website ranked up higher. I'm like, all right, here's $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it was. And I didn't
Yep.
even know. I'm like, what am I meant to be tracking? What's going on? What are they doing? And then it wasn't until I met you that I was like, oh, okay. So this is actually what's going on. This is what's being done. This is what I can do on my side of things. So I know you probably don't want to rubbish your competition, but do you see any of that in the space at all?
Well, I think that's one thing I wanted to correct, Jono. I do want to rubbish the competition, definitely. But no, but all kidding aside, look, a lot of the information that I'm actually going to share today, it's available online, right? But the question really here is, are you keeping up to date to the algorithm? Are you doing your best in order to make sure that you're on top of all the changes? And what I think one thing that we want to clear is that sure, you can be an SEO expert yourself, but it takes time.
Mhm.
It's not really something you can just sort of do as a hobby.
Yep.
It is a full-time job,
Yeah.
and it's often not just a one-person endeavor,
Mm.
right? And these are just some of the things that we want to discuss today. But there are definitely things that you can do on your own, and you can achieve a lot for your website,
Mm.
and you can do a lot of good things on your own if you just play your cards right. So that's the aim of my I guess this my talk today, just to equip a lot of the listeners that we have right now with what they can do, the small things that they can do themselves, and where it's best, and I guess maybe also draw the line on where some things are better outsourced, for example,
Mm.
or where they might need help.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what I've learned from working with you, Mark, I think it's best the more the course creator or the more the person can know themselves, the better, even if they
Yeah.
don't implement that thing themselves, right? As long as they
Yes.
know. And I'll share a quick story here. One of the first SEO agencies I worked for, and this is probably a good thing to start with as well. They were like, all right, Jono, what keywords do you want to rank for? And I was like, I just gave them 10 random keywords. I didn't do any
Yep.
research. I was like, oh, yeah, online boot camp course, let's rank for this. And they're like, okay, yeah, no dramas. I gave them the 10 words and they'd send me a list every month, yeah, online boot camp course, you're ranked number 5 or whatever it is. You're doing really well. And I was like, yeah, that's great. And then I think I met you, Mark, and you were like, all right, well, let's have a look at how much volume each of these keywords have. Okay, this keyword that you're ranking number 1 for, there's nobody in the world searching it. So all
Yeah.
well and good, you're number 1, but
Hmm.
who are you number 1 against? It's not really doing you anything. So let's even start there, Mark. Would you say that's probably the best place to start as a course creator? Like what words do we want to actually rank for, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter what industry you're in, right? Whenever you're doing SEO, the most fundamental thing that you could do, and you can also get wrong, is keyword selection,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to share a bit of our secret sauce. Not so secret, but we have our own way of doing keyword research. But there are a couple things that you should consider. For one thing, yeah, as a business owner, right, regardless of what course you sell or what course you offer, there are obviously different keywords and terms associated with them. If you do language courses, it's obviously the different language terms. If it's
How
Spanish,
to learn
German,
Spanish.
what have
How to-
you,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all there. If you're in the fitness space, then it's all about understanding whether it's kettlebell or it's
Mm,
boot camp courses, things like that. That one is pretty intuitive. As a business owner,
mm,
you would know what keywords you sell because you sell it, right? That's one consideration. Another consideration you'd have to take a look at is, okay, have I been to a competitor website, like other guys who sell other courses that's like mine? What kind of keywords do I see on their website? What terms are
mm,
available there from the homepage or from the product category pages? How do they describe their product pages or their course pages? What terms do they use? What are they ranking for? Right. So
mm,
this is the second consideration. You have to take a look at what the opposition is doing because that's usually a good place to start if you've never done optimization before. And yeah, you also have to consider stuff like search volume, as you said. So for those who are not aware on how you could do this, Google Ads actually has a keyword planner that you could use for free. You don't have to set up a Google ad yourself. And that'll give you, like, you plug in a keyword, it'll give you all the related keywords and search volumes and estimated difficulty. There are other tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush that also have free modes you could use to pull the same information. Why does search volume matter? The common example I would give here is the Disney example, right? Let's say I search the term Disney. Let's say I'm an administrator for Disney World Paris, right? Because I'm in Europe, so let's just say Paris. And I want to sell more tickets. So what do I put on my website? Do I prioritize ranking for Disney, which probably gets like a billion searches every day
mm.
because it's everything from Marvel to the movies
Yep.
to the toys to Mickey Mouse and things like that?
Yep.
Or do I care about a term like buy Disney World Paris tickets online,
Mm,
right? One keyword would have significantly less search volume,
yep.
and sure, it's neat if you're ranking for like something that gets a lot of searches, but it's
Mm,
better if you're ranking for the ones that people are looking for when they want to buy.
mm,
So you also have to think about the intention here. What's the end game? All of our listeners probably that right now is the end game. Mark, is I want to sell courses, and therefore you have to take a look at, okay, what are the keywords that if I were the one buying or looking for a course, what
mm,
are the terms I'd search for, right? So it's not always about volume. So like I said, to illustrate your example further, there are two things you can get wrong off the bat. You can target a keyword that's too broad,
mm,
meaning that it's too informational, it's too far from the intent to buy, from the commercial intent, as we call it in the industry.
yep.
And you can also have something that's super super specific. Nobody's searching for it,
Mm,
right? So these are some of the things that you'd have to look at, and the best way they can do it really is to literally plug in every keyword you could think of and any keyword your competitors have on Ahrefs and SEMrush. Take a look at the volume. You could even use tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush to just literally get the competitor website, plug it into Ahrefs, it'll show you all the keywords they're ranking for. If they're as good as they claim to be, then these guys would have been doing proper keyword research, and it shows you what terms they've been targeting and they've been ranking for and what search volume. That gives you a bit of an idea. But Mark, I don't have competitors. My offering is really niche. Well, you know what? That's certainly possible that you don't have something that's directly plausible. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Jono, that you've had a course. Maybe we have listeners here who sell this really specific course, like
yep.
how to dig a ditch for how to dig a ditch in 30 seconds, something like that, right? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
a digger, but
Or even like a
it,
call, like say, I don't know if this comes into it. Let's say I used to have a client who worked with, and you might be listening, Lucas. who worked with like testosterone, right? And he had a
Right.
course on how to improve your testosterone, right?
Right.
It's kind of different. Like obviously, if you search testosterone, there's going to be a whole heap of people looking for supplements and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. But there might not be a lot of people that are searching what's an online course to help me improve my testosterone.
Right, right. So there you go, right? There's also this catch wherein you might have people who are not aware that there's a course,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you want to capture that.
yeah.
It's also in you to build the awareness around your offering by targeting related or tangential keywords to that. Because if there's no demand, you can create for it simply by optimizing and targeting keywords that are related to the
Mm,
main offering you do, not necessarily just what you sell,
yeah.
right? So yeah, keyword selection is key, right? In most cases, you can do a lot of it yourself just using those tools I've mentioned. And
Yep.
it's just making sure that those keywords are mentioned on your website with supporting content. In other cases, you can consult. I'll give you guys a bit of a secret. So I'm an agency guy, and so we're suckers for leads and for customers. There are lots of people like me around the world, and you can always reach out to guys and get a consultation or an audit for
Mm,
free, right? There
yeah,
are agencies out there that because they want your business, they'll help you out with initial keyword research. And
yeah.
as a business owner who's starting out, maybe you're just emerging, or you want to take a look at what more you can do. Regardless of where you are in the business, you can look at either just tapping that free consultation,
Mm,
or you can, of course, engage an agency full time to do keyword research for you and the month one setup and things like that.
yeah.
Okay.
That is a
So it really depends, but there are options out there. You can get help for free.
mm,
You can search for it online, or you can do it with yourself if you have the proper tools.
yeah.
So that's the most important thing.
I'll summarize a couple things there. Then I got some more questions on the keywords. So some really good things
Sure.
on what Mark said there, and we mentioned a few tools that might be complicated for people out there. The easiest free tool is the Google Planner one, right, Mark?
Google Keyword Planner, yes, yes.
Awesome.
That's via Google Ads. If you need instructions on how to look at it, well, Google it. It's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty easy to use,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. It's well, that's a
Yeah.
good point because it's kind of like we could try and describe it here, but it'd be fiddly. Like just Google or
Nah.
YouTube, how to use Google YouTube Planner or whatever, and then you'll be able to type it in. And you also see the competition on that is that as well, right, Mark? Like I could type a keyword, see how many searches there are, and also how competitive it is. Do I get that data
Yes.
from? Yeah.
You do. You do. You could even plug in URLs. So if you know your competitor's website, you could also plug it in. You could also see what keywords they're associated with. And this is pretty useful if you really have no idea, but you do know what your opposition does, right?
Mm,
Um, and yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your opposition either, right? Let's say you sell courses and then another guy sells courses. You just want to get an idea of what the general terms are, because at the end of the day, you still sell courses. It's just one is a different industry than another, but there is some overlap. So to get a bit of an idea of what to do, you could use these. There is one thing I want to be clear though. Usually large companies like Nike or like Walgreens, these types of websites, they don't really need SEO to get business, and obviously their marketing is their brand is much more recognizable.
yeah.
So you don't really get much insight from running those. It's
Yeah.
much
Gotcha.
better if you compare yourself apples to apples to an SME, and because SEO is the great equalizer, right?
Mm,
You can rank better than a lot of organizations and corporations with millions of dollars of marketing budget, simply because Google will see your website has higher quality than theirs,
mm.
right?
More specific,
So
right?
yeah, more specific, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's the idea there.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That part all makes sense there. So on that note, Mark, and this is kind of a how long is the piece of string, but let's just say a beginner, right? They've got a
Mhm.
website, they haven't done any SEO. This is the other thing I
Yep.
find in this space as well, right? A lot of website developers will tell the person they've done SEO on the website, They're like, yeah, I'll do your
Yeah.
website and I'll SEO optimize it. I know this because I was speaking to someone the other day. I was like, oh, have you done it? They're
Mm.
like, oh, I just want leads to come to me. I was like, well, have you done SEO? They're like, yeah, yeah. When my website person did my website, they SEO optimized it. I'm like, oh, great. What words did they SEO optimize it for? They're like, oh, I'm not too sure. I'm just like,
There you
how can
go.
you,
Right.
how can you SEO optimize a website? Like you as the owner should know what words you've done. But anyway, the question I'm getting at here is like, is there a baseline? Should we say, right, just focus on one word to start with, or 3 words, or 5 words, or 10 words? I know it's an impossible answer, but if you had to simplify it for the listeners, how many kind of words should they focus on to start with?
Okay. It it depends.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a good
yeah,
answer to a lot of
yeah,
questions. It depends.
yeah.
But I guess also to keep it simple, imagine the site structure on your in your head, right? Your website structure on your head. So obviously you have the home page. That's your front door that generally describes what you are and who you are. Is that where people buy? Probably not,
No,
right?
no,
You
not really.
lead people to your homepage. That's where people find the most information about your business, about who you are. So general information about you. The keywords about that should be what you do, right? If
Gotcha.
I sell, for example, courses on
Let's say Spanish.
finance,
Okay, finance. Yep.
or yeah, okay. So let's say finance or Spanish or
Yep.
Spanish, right? So let's say Spanish as an example. Then you sell you sell Spanish courses online. So these are the kinds of keywords that should appear on your homepage because that's what describes who you are.
Like
How many
learn
keywords?
Spanish. That's like
Yeah.
learn Spanish, how to learn Spanish. That sort of stuff you're saying should be on the
Yeah,
homepage.
yeah, yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
general, right? So as long as it
Gotcha.
describes what you are, that's on the homepage. How many keywords? As many as you can get away with.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because as it ideally, think of it this way: any keyword you're not optimizing for that describes exactly what you are, you're missing out on people who are searching for that keyword. They'll never find you,
Mm,
right? Um, and then coming into the other pages, obviously you also have product categories. Let's say for Spanish, you have different subcategories. That let's say you have
maybe
beginner,
for
advanced,
travel.
expert,
Oh yeah.
maybe,
Yep.
or
Or
it
even
could
you could go
be,
traveling. You're going to
yeah,
travel. Or if
exactly,
you've got
yeah.
a spouse that's there's might be different courses depending on what you want to
Right.
do.
Right. Yeah. Maybe yeah, well I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but I imagine that there might be categories where you have Spanish for travel, Spanish for
Yep.
dating,
Yep.
Spanish for etc.
Well, you
These
might
are
know that moving to Europe, Mark. Did
what
you learn? Do you know the language over there now?
no, well I'm taking Swedish courses, but not
Yep.
yet. Not yet.
What
Yeah, it's
is it general Swedish courses or is it because this is interesting from a course creator? Did you pick a
uh
particular, Swedish for business or Swedish for traveling, or is it just a generic
I
Swedish?
I think the best way to describe it is Swedish for toddlers because I I'm completely it's completely an alien language to me.
Yeah,
It's so far removed from the language I speak that yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. Those extra letters on the alphabet are a bit of a challenge.
yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, going back to my point, right? So you have on your homepage, it should be the keywords to describe who you are. On your product categories, or these are the keywords that are more commercial in intent. Because
Gotcha.
obviously somebody's searching for, let's say, Spanish lessons for travel. What are they looking for? They're looking for Spanish lessons for travel. So that page should be more specific. It should have keywords around travel
Gotcha.
and the use of the language. And how many keywords? Again, it's the same argument, as many as you can get away with, because different people search different ways. How do I know which ones I should prioritize? That's where you go to keyword planner and see which ones have volume, which ones have a lot of are a bit more competitive and less competitive. So these are the things that you consider. So I guess to go back to the question of how long is a piece of string, it can be as
Mm,
long as you want, but um, the most successful business owners I know that operate online, it really is commensurate to the amount of work you put in,
mm,
right? This is your livelihood, and the good news here is that if you work if you do it properly, and you put the extra effort into mastering how your customers search in your industry, or search for what you need, that usually translates to sales down the track, right? I think one thing we want to emphasize to our to our listeners right now is SEO, unlike, let's say, Google ads, or Facebook ads and all the others. SEO is the one that will, of all the marketing channels, SEO can present you the highest return. I think the only thing that can do better is email, but not everybody has a million
Yeah, you need
people
to
in the
build the
email
email
list,
list though,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but SEO you can do yourself. You can do the basic stuff, and you can, of course, avoid the pitfalls, and it'll give you free traffic
Mm,
if you do it right, if you rank right. Imagine you're getting free traffic because you're ranking for that really niche keyword, versus your competitor who pays $5 per click on
yeah.
Google Ads. Somebody's gonna win there,
Well,
right?
I'll give a real
Yeah.
life example, Mark. So on my US website, right, I turned the
Yep.
Google ads off because it was breaking even. And I'm like, it's too much. Like, I can do it and I get some leads, but it's a bit of a risk. I'm just going to keep the SEO on. I'm like, and
Right.
yes, I pay Mark's agency, but that's a flat fee kind of thing. It's like I pay
Yeah.
Mark's agency a flat fee every month. And as long as I make more sales than that back, I'm happy. It's like free
Right.
money. With an online course, I'm literally getting free, or yeah, I'm getting free money. And the goal is also, with the US website, I think we've been, it's for about a year now, or not even, maybe, I don't know how long we've been doing the US one, but we've just added
Yep.
keywords. And ideally, we should rank higher and more keywords, so that revenue should get higher and higher, and the cost will be about the same of paying your agency there. Whereas if it was
Right.
a Facebook ads or a Google ads, it's kind of like, if you want more business, that's fine, but you got to put more money behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So that's a good example, right? Keyword expansion, like on SEO, I can rank for, let's say, 10 keywords at a time,
Mm,
and then I invest in that because let's say that's all the time, that's all the money I have. I
yep.
can only go 10 words at a time, but they're my core keywords. Okay, 6 months later, you do a good job, or your agency does a good job. You rank well, you get traffic for those 10
Yep.
keywords on a regular basis. You can then switch to another 10,
Yeah.
and because it's the same amount of work, I don't think they'll charge you more.
Yeah.
Maybe
Or, or,
I
or
find a way to charge
alternatively,
you
though,
more.
or
Yeah.
alternatively though, like what I did is I just added another 10, because I'm like, well,
Yeah,
now
you
I'm making
can.
more money. So now I'm
Yeah,
going to keep my
exactly.
10, and put another 10 on top.
Right, right. And here's the beauty of investing in SEO, for example, than other digital marketing, paid digital marketing channels. I rank for these 10 keywords, right? I do well. I'm position one for all 10, right? And I get a fair amount of volume on each one. Um, let's say you stop doing SEO, like you stop engaging your agency,
Mm,
or you fall asleep for a month and you don't update your blog, for example.
yeah.
You won't necessarily lose those rankings overnight. In the same
Mm,
way it took you time to earn them, it will take you time to lose them. The
yeah.
only exception, I guess, is if it's a really cutthroat industry where there are lots
Yeah.
of guys running SEO. But even then, they won't outcompete you for all the keywords you'll target.
Mm,
They'll outcompete you for maybe the hardest ones. Compare it to Google Ads. For
mm,
Google Ads, you pay Google, let's say, $500, $1,000, $2,000 each month, and sure, they'll rank you. You'll appear at the top, and you'll get traffic tomorrow. You don't have to wait for
mm,
it, right? I can literally make you show up tonight,
yep.
with the ads. The challenge, though, is that the moment I stop paying Google, goodbye,
Mm,
right? I don't get anything sustainable, or I have to pay Google forever,
yeah.
right? And that's it. And you know what? It's still a perfectly viable strategy,
Yeah.
because certainly in some cases you want results immediately. There are
Yep.
also some things that Google Ads can do that SEO cannot, like remarketing.
Mm,
But if you want to look at being successful, you want to really look at a combination of different channels.
yep.
But to me, having SEO is really the one of the most essential ones, right? It's
Mm,
the must-haves. In fact, a common pitfall with clients we've worked with, is there's a sense of security that I spend money on Google Ads and I will succeed. But in
mm,
reality, you didn't fix your website, right? And so sure, you're dumping money here, you're getting traffic, but you're losing 95% of that traffic off of a bounce because your website's not optimized. Okay. So everything you're doing on SEO, it really starts with having a high quality website, which people like, which people can convert on. So to me, doing SEO is like the really the first step to
Mm.
anything, because your website's quality underpins any activity or any endeavor you do digitally.
We'll spend a minute there just before we do. My sort of take on that, Mark, is like, in terms of the both side of things, I think when you're starting off, Google Ads is probably more important because you want to work on the SEO as well, but it might take you a couple months before you
Yeah.
actually see some results there, you know? Whereas Google
Right.
Ads, you can run it now and start get some money coming in, but then it should slowly balance out because it's like, well, hold on, now I'm starting to get ranked higher organically without spending any money. Okay, maybe I can put a few less dollars on Google Ads, you know, and just let the SEO do it more, and then it can be like I am now in the stage in the US, where it's like, you know what, it's not worth the risk of the Google Ads. I'm ranking in the top
Yeah.
page. Let me just get the free traffic there, you know. So that's how
Yep.
I take that. But let's spend a minute and speak about now we've got the keywords. It's great. There might be some people listening to this and be like, okay, that's great. I've got these keywords written down on a piece of paper. What the crap do I do with them? Do I just write them 100 times on the website so they come up heaps? Because I think that used to
Right.
be a strategy in the 90s or something, right? You could just
Yeah.
write the same word 100 times, and the more times you had it, it would rank the number one. But I think that's frowned upon now. But if you want to just give us a really basic overview, Mark, of like on page versus off page, and then we'll
Right.
dive deeper into each one. But yeah, let us know on page versus off page.
Okay. It's a lot to unpack, but I'll keep it as simple as possible for all of our listeners out there. So when we're working on SEO, there are essentially two things you have to pay attention to. We call it on page and off page. When I say on page, it literally means on the page on your website. This pertains to everything about the site, not just content actually, but also the technical aspects, like does it load fast? Does it appear nice on an iPhone? Things like that, right? Off page is something else, which I'll tackle in a bit. So okay. Um, on the question of, all right, Mark, I've identified 100 keywords I want to rank for. Do I just stuff them into the site? That used to work, but Google's algorithms are getting smarter every day, and believe me, I work in this space. It's always it's an arms race, right?
Mm.
So what's the one thing that any business owner, any website owner should take into account when they're inputting these keywords? Remember that the keywords, you can't just put them in. They have to have supporting content, right? What do I mean by supporting content? There has to be a narrative. There has to be a relationship between the different terms. It has to sound like natural language, right?
Mm.
The one thing that I think is most critical to how SEO works today, because of the algorithms getting smarter, it's always about making a website that's catered to users first and
Mm.
foremost, right?
Well, let's
Uh,
spend a minute there, Mark, because it's like, and this is, I think, with all social media platforms, but specifically Google, like it's
yeah,
not so much a game, right? From Google's side of things, it's more like, hey, we want to have the best search engine in the world. And for
right.
us to have the best search engine in the world, we want people to have a really good experience. You know, we want people
Yes,
to be like, hey, Google is so good. If I want anything, I just go on Google, I type this phrase in, and the first two or three websites are so specific. That's what Google wants, right?
right.
So it's kind of
Exactly.
like if we try and game it, Google's not going to like us. So it's like that's what
Yes.
they want. How can we fit into what they want?
Right, right, exactly. So look, one of the key things that Google cares about is that you design the website for users, not for the algorithm.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't publish they don't publish the how to rank for the algorithm. No, no, they publish quality metrics that people
Mm.
should comply to. So, for example, the content on your website, sure, you want to insert the keywords in, but you want to insert those keywords organically in the text, right? You don't want to just mention the same keywords in the first 100 words without any coherence. It has to still make sense. There should be a narrative. As I said, let's go for go back to my example of that Spanish courses, right? Let's say on your homepage, yeah, it's learn Spanish online. These will be the keywords you want. You want to mention that in a sentence, right? You want to mention that in a sentence that sounds natural, and with also supporting sentences with related keywords on the other sentences. That's what Google likes. It wants to be able to see natural language, and the algorithm is a lot smarter now. It can detect if you are rigging it by mentioning the keyword too much. And this is not just exclusive to Google. Like if any of our listeners have done email marketing, you guys probably would have seen that sometimes when emails sound spammy, it's because you mentioned too many keywords at certain terms at a given time. Google is a lot smarter than that, and it does that to your website every day. So it's important that you write content first and foremost for a reader. That's it. Think of it as your exercise is not for the algorithm, but for somebody who's reading your site. I want a website that has all the information I want to share in a language that they would understand clearly, with the keywords that matter to my business, uh, sprinkled in into the content. I'm using the term sprinkled in because you're right. 10, 20 years ago, people would literally just stick 100 keywords there. It doesn't matter it made sense or not. But no, it doesn't work that way anymore. So for the on page, in terms of content, that's the first thing, right? The second thing you should also take a look at with content, with the on page element of SEO, is take a look at the technical side. Remember, as you said, Jono, it's in Google's interest to show the best search results, which means show the best websites. What's the best website? Oh, to me, it's the fast website,
Oh yeah.
right?
I click out
If
in a
your
couple
website,
seconds if it's
yeah,
loading.
yeah, exactly. Look, the idea here is within 2 seconds of clicking that search result, I need to be able to see the top of the what we call the above the fold section of the website. That's everything that you would see without scrolling down,
Yep.
right? So, sure, text content is one thing, but that's not the heaviest part of your site. A common pitfall is, oh, I want to show a really cool training video or training montage
Mm,
on my banner. That can work, assuming that your video is compressed enough that it doesn't it doesn't take
yep.
forever. It doesn't take as long as the video to load.
Yep. Yep.
And you also have to take into account that there are other elements like images. A common mistake that a lot of web designers that we've worked with do is, you want, nowadays, right, you want like 4K, super high
Yeah.
resolution, super clear photos. And that's fine. In some cases, like let's say your banner, you really want something that's really high quality, something where I can see the pores of the person in the picture
Mm,
is, right? Because that just looks professional.
right.
But use photos of the appropriate size. And then, but when I'm referring to size, I'm referring to both the dimensions and the file size for its
Mm,
purpose. We have often found, for example, a thumbnail that's 1080p, right? It's like, okay, cool. That's a 2000 by 2000 pixel picture,
mm,
but it's a thumbnail on your website.
yeah.
So little things like that. You want to make it so that, think of it this way: your the speed of your website is like with a car. The heavier it is, the slower it'll be.
Mm,
So where you cannot, upgrade your engine because of, let's say, your engine is new, or you can't buy a very expensive car because you're an emerging business. The secret really here is to not overload it with stuff that will just slow it down from the get-go.
mm,
Okay. Other things you can look at. So look, as everybody would know, and probably people listening to us right now, you're probably listening to us on your phone,
mm,
and a lot of websites have to be mobile friendly. Good news is, because of modern web design, a lot of the websites that come out right now are mobile optimized to a degree, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% mobile optimized. I'm gonna dip my toes a little bit on the technical aspect of it, but for example, there are tools out there, free tools out there, like Google Search Console, that you can install on your website, and it prompts you, because it tells you, it scans the website in mobile form, and it tells you, hey, yeah, sure, your website's mobile friendly, but there are some mobile usability issues, right? And it'll give you a quick summary as to what the issues are. Usually the text might be too small to read on the phone, or the text is, or the buttons are too close together. It has this capability to monitor those things. And I think that's also one thing I wanted to clarify. You're probably not going to get everything right at the beginning. And this is an
Point.
important thing to mention on SEO, right? Whether it's keyword research or content writing or website construction, you can follow all of the best practices, but believe me, there's always going to be that one other thing you have to
Mm,
fix week on week, month on month. This isn't a sit and forget
yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
And so with tools like Google Search Console, for example, and analytics, they'll give you insights about how your website looks like on Google, how your traffic behaves, where users are bouncing off of your website. That gives you clues on how you can fix it, right? I had a common issue we also face with clients is, and this is regardless of industry, right? um, Ideally, if you want to buy something from where I landed to when I checked out, it should be 4 clicks or
Mm,
less,
yeah.
right? We often have situations wherein it takes like 12 clicks and I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
fill
Yeah.
out, a 10-item form.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna have time for that,
Yeah.
especially in an industry like online courses, wherein
Mm.
it's really just
You want to buy it and log
as
in then and there.
yeah, yeah, right. The joke we often tell our clients is that they want to give you your money,
Mm.
so just just take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Stop with all the red tape that would prohibit people from just doing business, because they do want to do business with you. So when I say on page and when I say build for the user, that's what I mean, right? And that's what those are the same things that Google cares about. If your website has all the information from the get-go, if your website loads fast, if your website is mobile friendly, these are just some of the basic things that Google cares about for you to rank.
Gotcha.
For I guess for I understand that this podcast has listeners, a following from across all the different skill levels.
Yep.
For the more intermediate to advanced, you could also take a look at, or if you're just generally curious, take a look at stuff like the core web vitals of Google. These would be the core metrics that they would consider as a healthy website. And as I said, right, it's all about you. In order for you to please Google, you have to please the users and the visitors, because it's one and the same now, right? It's smart enough to behave like a person. It
Mm.
simulates what a person would like, and so that's what you need to do.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, that's the on-page stuff. The
Off
off-page
page.
stuff is pretty complex, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible for everyone. And there's also a bunch of things you can do with off-page. Okay, I'm an agency guy. A lot of agency guys will tell you that, oh, off-page SEO is that's what you outsource, right? And true enough, because doing off-page SEO means I need to reach out to multiple sites. But wait, I'm getting too ahead of myself. Let's describe what off-page SEO first
Yes. Good.
is,
Yeah.
right? So on page refers to everything within the site. Off page is obviously the opposite. Google cares about two things in general when it's ranking a site, right? And it's like with people, you have to be pretty, you have to be popular too, right? You can't you because yeah, you can certainly be one of the two, but if what separates, let's say you have three websites that are all equally optimized, right?
Yeah.
Which one goes positions 1, 2, and 3? All right. Obviously, there's a lot more factors than just the off page, but I'm oversimplifying here. Um, but off page is one of the key differentiators. So, what exactly is off page? It's how many websites out there mention you, right, in a nutshell. And I guess just to be as basic as possible, it's how many websites link to your websites,
Yeah.
right? That's what it is at the most fundamental level. So when you look at off-page SEO, what is it exactly? Your social media links, like if you have, let's say, a Facebook page pointing to your website. Facebook is a backlink to your website
Gotcha.
because it's a site linking to yours. But okay, so why don't I rank, Mark? I have like my Facebook page and my Instagram page and my LinkedIn page links back to my site. Well, guess what? Anybody else can do that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Anybody else can set up their own social media accounts and business pages and link back to theirs. Um, so the key differentiator here is how you can reach out to other publications and relevant websites to your industry. So for example, Jono, you're in the fitness space,
Yep.
right? So you getting, for example, a backlink from, let's say, Oz Active,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That's big
Yep.
because an organization like Oz Active is recognized by everybody in that space.
Yep.
It's the authority. So think of, I guess, the best analogy I have for backlinks is it's about you can be a great person, but if nobody knows you, so what, right?
Yeah.
Backlinks are the people who know you, the people who will vouch for you. These are the other websites who know you. They're the other websites that talk about you. And in the same analogy, following that same analogy, it also matters how many talk about you, but also who they are,
Mm.
right? If your mother tells you that you're a good boy 100 times, sure, she's your mom. So yeah, I'm sure that in her mind you're a good boy. But mom, you've never seen all the things I've done. so 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 the idea here is it's also important that you get other people who can vouch for, let's say, your character. Same thing
Mm.
with the website, right? It's important that you have a variety of
I just thought
sources
of it.
that
I just thought of an example, Mark, for the listeners.
yeah.
It's when you said the bad boy kind of thing. It's kind of like if you go to court. If you go to court to, that someone's trying to,
Yeah.
you're trying to get out of jail or whatever, and you've got your mum as your character witness. A judge isn't going to really, look at that too highly, But if you've got
Right.
a priest, if you've got a politician, if you've got some of
Yeah.
these kind of people here, it's kind of like, oh, there's teachers and politicians and all these other people here, like, all right, there's kind of two parts there. It's like, number one, these are important. These are people that are usually looked highly upon in society.
Yes.
And also there's a variety of them as well.
Right. Exactly. So that's the thing, right? When you're looking at off-page SEO, the work really here is getting those publications to mention you, the ones that are reputable, the ones that are related to your industry. Another
And
pitfall
these
that
could be
that
bloggers as well, right, Mark? Like we
yes.
use publications where like let's use fitness education online as an example.
Yeah.
We've got courses registered with Aus Active, with Reps New Zealand, with Physical Activity Australia, with different gyms where, so that's one side of things there, but also just bloggers, and podcasters. If you can
Yeah.
get you write a guest blog for someone, or someone reviews or a blogger reviews your website, or you get on a podcast with, like, your SEO link will be on this podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's the thing. So there are definitely many things you can do, but yes, the more reputable the voucher is, the one that's vouching for your site, the better.
Mm,
And it also matters that, of course, it's related to the industry. I mean,
yeah.
sure. I mean, going back to the analogy. Let's say we're talking about you being a good runner. I mean, sure, a priest is saying that you're a good runner.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds cool, right?
Yeah.
But it's also different if, let's say, the high school coach tells you that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, or the
Gotcha.
track and field coach tells you
Yeah.
that. Um, going and then going back to websites, it's let's say you're selling Spanish courses. It doesn't really make sense to get a lot of mentions from cooking blogs,
Yeah.
right? Unless it's
Yeah.
cooking in Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah.
If that's
Exactly.
a if that's a thing,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess, right? So look, the idea here is that it should still be related to what you do. It's the same thing as with Google, right? It's all about having presenting a website that's made for users. Google assigns and attributes your reputation also by who vouches for you organically. and and this is important because this is a common issue that we face with when we work with clients, and this is a common mistake that a lot of people do when they do SEO. um it's often the case wherein, you can buy links in bulk,
Mm,
right? Cheap, right? And sure, it might get you somewhere, but if it's just a dump of links that A, have no relationship to your business, and B, those websites have questionable reputations, they will harm you in the long run, right?
mm.
It used to be a strategy 10, 20 years ago where it was just a numbers game, right? You get 1,000 backlinks from any
Random
particular
websites.
website, and it doesn't matter, it'll get you to rank. Again, Google gets smarter every day, and now it knows when you're rigging the system. Because
Mm,
after all, if the game is just measured by that, then it's only a question of who has the most resources to buy the most links,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But that isn't the case anymore. It's always about outreach. So I guess before I conclude my bit on the off-page SEO, let's talk about some practical things that any business owner can do, any website owner can do to get a little bit of off-page. So I mentioned a while ago the social media profiles, right? That's basic because
Mm,
you could do that yourself. You could link to your own website. Let's say, so yeah, you do on a lot of our listeners here are doing course creators. They
yep.
sell courses online, but I do know that there's a subset of course creators that also do face-to-face and
Yep.
local
Yep.
courses.
Yep.
So in those cases, you want to rank for your local area, which
Yep.
means business listings, right? You want to look at Google My Business. That's the most basic
Mm,
one. You
yep.
maybe Yelp, Apple Maps. You want to make sure that your business listings are there, because if you want to rank, or you or your location matters,
Mm,
then you better make sure that those listings are up. Um, Another thing that you could also do is you could reach out to partnerships. Like for
mm,
example, let's say, and this is a common thing that we also do in just business development in general, right? Not even digital marketing. um let's say you're a course creator, and you operate, let's say, within your space, Jonah, like in the fitness industry, right? It makes sense that you might do a blog post featuring a gym, and then said blog post also does said gym also does a blog post
gotcha.
featuring, let's say, you as a trainer,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then you just link back to each other. I mean, that's just you returning the favor. He links to
Mm,
you, you link to him. But that's one easy way for you to get a relevant
mm,
backlink juice and usually for free.
yep.
And two, because you're doing it as in the form of a blog, you're also updating and keeping your website content fresh.
Mm,
Okay, so to me, there are lots of things that you could do without necessarily even engaging an agency, right?
mm,
You can collaborate with the people within your community, the guys that work work within your industry,
yep.
and get them to link back to you. If you can get a website with a .edu
Mm,
top level domain to point back to you, that's also awesome. So um, I know that a lot of people in this space can also get .edu
yeah.
top level domains because they have certifications.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that will help. But for example, if you can get an organization that has a .edu top level domain to link back to you, that will do an incredible amount of push to boost your credibility, because Google attributes .edu, .gov, these domains as higher credibility
Yep.
simply because it's harder to get them. You can't get a .edu without actually putting in the work and doing the certifications. And
Mm,
of course, you won't get .gov unless you're the government. So one of those is easier than the others. I'll let you guess which
yeah.
one. So the idea here is that you want to reach out, you want to expand. It's also about you networking,
It's
right? And this
just,
is
yeah, it's
something
good
that,
networking
yeah,
principles
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, and it's critical. It's true for business in general, and it's definitely true in digital marketing. The more goodwill you sow out there, the more people vouch for you, and then the more
Mm,
credible these people are, the better.
yep.
So think of it this way: doing SEO is similar to an exercise in personal branding or in
Mm,
public relations, right? It's all about having, of course, a high quality website, a good image, and it's also about having a good reputation and good networking, and that's all about having, yeah, those off page links that I've mentioned. So those are things that you can do yourself. Now, when do you tap an agency? Let's say, you don't have time to do it because I need to run my business. I do all the sales. I wear multiple hats. I've run 2 startups. I know what this feels like, right? It's like you're working 18 hours a day. There's
mm,
just no time in the day to do it. That's the first real reason why you should outsource. Second, let's say you want to be ahead of the competition and you needed something a bit more aggressive. You need somebody to help you do the outreach for backlinks. You need somebody to always update your content. Again, it's a conversation about you don't have time, right?
mm,
I think this is the one lesson I want every all of our listeners to walk out from. You tap an agency for help, or you tap an expert for help because you don't have time to do it yourself.
mm,
But there is no excuse as a business owner. There's, regardless of whether you sell courses or you sell pancakes, there's no excuse as a business owner that you're not curious yourself,
mm.
because you should master your industry. You
Yep.
should know the space around you, and that's what separates a successful business owner from the ones that don't succeed, right? So to me, you outsource because you have an idea of what you do. You've done your research. You just don't have the time to do it, and you don't have the time to scale, right? Um, but outsourcing is just simply because I don't have the expertise. That's a pitfall. In fact, when we work with our clients, one of the things that we usually do is we educate them,
Yep.
because end of the day, I can tell you it's working, or I can show you,
Yep.
right? Because one of these things doesn't lie to you. Not to say that we never lie. We never lie,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important that you understand it. So look, um, being successful on online on SEO, it's a lot like just being successful as a person and in life, right? It's all about having a good reputation, a good image. So going back to that example, a good website, right? High quality, meant to be read by users. Second is you want to get you have a good reputation, so you're mentioned and vouched for by a number of people within your space. The more credible they are, the better. And that second part takes time to build,
Mm,
because obviously, unless you're Jeff Bezos and you can just buy the buy the reputation outright, you're probably not going to get there overnight. Okay, so I think one thing that we want
yeah,
I want the readers to walk away from,
and
sorry, the listeners to
we've
walk
probably
away
got
from
about
is,
1 minute. We've probably got about 1 minute left, Mark. So if you can give us
yeah.
the
So
takeaway and
yeah,
also the shout out,
so
if someone's listening and they're like, okay, this guy's on top of things, I want to,
right.
speak to him. Let us know the takeaway and where we go to hear more from you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So look, the key takeaway for me here is that when you look at any digital marketing endeavor, especially with SEO, it's all about building it from the ground up and building it properly. And it's not hard. I mean, a lot of the information is available online, and you don't really have to be a wizard to do it properly. It's all about just you communicating properly like a normal person, and making sure that you provide a superb experience online. That's the very it's like inviting people to a restaurant. You want people to eat there, it better be clean, it better have good
Mm,
service, it better have a good menu. These are just some of the things that you should take a look at. And I guess the shout out I like to give is that, um, yeah, so just a shout out to I guess my team who might be listening to this. Thank you for listening. I know I'm your boss, but it's good that you're listening to this of your own volition. And to all business owners out there who do need help or do need assistance, Jono has will paste my contact information here. As I said, you could technically tap an agency for help, and we can give you consultation. I give advice for free, and then I tell you what you can pay for, and then you pay me.
and it's
But we
it's
start
worth it.
with,
It's worth it.
it's and it's worth it. I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that. That's very important coming from again, vouchers, right? So there you go.
Mm,
So look, thank you for everybody who listened. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. And I guess the one thing I want to just the one thing I want you guys to all walk away from is that you can do this yourself. You just need to do your research, put in a bit of work, and understand your space. And this is true for any business. So it's not rocket science. Okay. I'm not a rocket scientist. Certainly am not. Yeah. But as Jono did say at the start of this podcast, I am pretty smart
At SEO, anyway.
at SEO. Yeah. Yeah. Very important
Awesome.
to distinguish that. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. We got to leave it at that, Mark, but thank you for your time, and we'll touch base later today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jono. All right. And thank you, listeners. Catch you again next time.